Check this out and try this on for size. We now know the Wizards announced that Bradley Beal and his agent have permission to seek a trade. And just within hours, Jay Williams on ESPN had this to say.
Jay, you got a landing spot for Bradley Beal that no one else is talking about right now.
I got the best landing spot. The Golden State Warriors. It makes all the sense in the world. You got Draymond Green, who's a pivotal piece to them making one last run for the team of a championship with the core together, okay? I think he opts into the contract. Now, what you do with Klay coming off this year is a big-time question. But if you're Golden State and you're trying to extend the runway for Steph's legacy in this continuity system, why do you not think about letting Jordan Poole go? You're already talking about letting Kuminga go, potentially Moses Moody. Now, I don't want to give up that much. I've heard people throw in potentially Klay Thompson as well with maybe a Kuminga and a Jordan Poole. If you're not sure that that Klay, you want to pay him the supermax moving forward after the last year of his deal, is there a way to make a move for a Bradley Beal with Steph, with Andrew Wiggins, potentially with a guy like Dre? And
Wiggins picks up the slack defensively. Because you are losing something defensively in the backcourt.
Yes, you are.
All right, how does it grab you? And essentially what he's saying is maybe a package that is like Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson, because what Washington would get is a young, up-and-coming player and an expiring contract. You'd have to have Beal plus more coming back to make the money work, because Beal and Klay pretty much work one for one. They're both among the highest-paid players in the game. Beal's got 4 more years on the deal, and I'll tell you this, in the 4th year of that deal, it's a player option for $57 million. He would be paid just south of Steph, although that would be the year after Steph's contract is up and done. So how does that idea grab you of the Warriors taking their expiring contract? I hate calling Klay Thompson that, but use that and Jordan Poole and turn that into Bradley Beal.
Well, I mean, it doesn't work. Jordan Poole's making $28 million this upcoming year. Klay's going to be making $43 million. And you look at Beal's deal, Beal's going to be making big money too. So, I mean, it doesn't – Beal makes he's making 46. So that just doesn't work. I mean, you'd have to take Porzingis or something.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll say this.
I'm listening.
I don't like it from a standpoint of it makes them smaller in the backcourt. Beal's 6'4", Klay's 6'7". Porzingis has had injuries that would concern me. But I do like the idea of moving off of Klay Thompson. And I know it's hard for me to even say that, because Klay Thompson is maybe one of my favorite players, regardless of sport, in my Bay Area sports viewing history. But you just get a sense of these things that I don't think Klay is going to be the guy that's going to graciously finish out his career. I just think that he's going to always be kind of trying to dial it back to yesteryear. Some guys can handle the twilight of their career better than others. I think he's seems like a guy who's having a hard time. Like nobody can even, can't come off the bench because you can't have that conversation with him. He's got a huge opinion of where he's at and what he deserves and what he feels and this. And I don't want to be part. I don't want to be. And then if you renegotiate his deal or extend him, I don't even like the terms. I mean, people are saying, well, give him a 3-year deal for $90 million. I don't want that. I don't want Klay for 3 years at $30 million. I would rather Klay make more like, 20 to 25 in that range. And I think that's just going to piss him off. I think he's going to not be happy. And I think he's going to be the same way that, and I don't think he makes any the other people better, really. I mean, Draymond makes Steph better. Klay's a finisher. Klay's a shot maker. I think that his year this last year from 3, and the great year he had from beyond the arc camouflaged his regression from 2. I don't think he's nearly the same player off defensively either. So I do like the idea of moving on from Klay Thompson. I don't love the idea of getting that small and that defensively challenged, and you're still not saving any real money. So I don't think Beal's the guy, but I do I do think I would move off of Klay Thompson this summer.
You are listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app. And I'm about 30 seconds away from putting this word up so that you can win your way into Chase Center and get yourself all set up to be at the introductory press conference after the NBA draft with the Warriors. Get to Twitch and YouTube right now. I'm going to hold this thing up in less than 1 minute. I've thought a lot about this after the whole thing came up. And for a second, I was like, okay, hang on. You're bringing in a defensively challenged guy, sure. But the guys going on the way out are kind of defensively challenged as well. Klay used to be a good defender. Very inconsistent now. Jordan Poole is often a turnstile. So I don't know that you're giving up anything defensively there. The only thing that worries me about giving up Jordan Poole in a trade is the idea that if and when Steph misses games by injury, load management, or even just when he needs to be on the bench during games, often the guard with the ball in the hands who can initiate scoring is Jordan Poole. And if he's not in the team anymore, who's doing that? Who is essentially your backup ball-handling guard who can create offense? Well, Bradley Beal would fit that bill. Now, the emotional side of moving on from Klay Thompson, to me, is significant. And I know that we're supposed to be cutthroat. Joe Lacob is, and those are all true. But I am going to give some acknowledgement to the idea that this would be very hard for Warrior fans. As you said, it's even hard for you to use the words and say them about moving on from Klay Thompson. I am totally invested in the possibility, remote though it may seem, of Steph, Klay, and Dre all being lifetime Warriors. I hope there's a way to make that work. It actually matters to me. Not to the point where I would just say, who cares about winning for the next 4 years? But if there's a way to do that, I would absolutely be in. And I wonder what concessions the players might make in order to make that work. I wonder. I don't know. Maybe none. I don't know, but I wonder. All of that said, here's the final thing that for me was the pin in the balloon with the idea to where I would say no. No, I am not interested in Bradley Beal, and I'm not actually interested in him in any particular trade. The reason is, and fans don't usually get into this, but teams really love it, and that is the phrase financial flexibility. I'm in a moment in time as I look at sports in the Bay Area where I think that even fans should be wary of this. I always hear fans say, I bet you do too, Larry. I hear fans say, well, it's not my money. Why do I care? Bring me the best players. Financial flexibility in the Correa experience, for example, that we just watched, and now all of you are feeling relief. When you tie yourself to a massive contract and it doesn't work, it has a trickle-down effect that is debilitating. And it puts your team in a situation where you end up like the Wizards, where you're just handing people out in the streets, help us start over. The 49ers are brilliant at not never, but usually leaving their flexibility. Look at what the Warriors even have in Klay Thompson. They can get out from underneath the contract next year as opposed to this year because he's expiring. That stuff, I think, needs to start mattering to fans more. And I don't want the Warriors to trade Klay Thompson for Bradley Beal just because it ruins their flexibility.
We saw it with the Lakers, but then the Lakers and Pelinka were able to get out from underneath Westbrook. And I don't know how. I mean, to me, it's like I thought Pelinka deserved the Executive of the Year for being able to turn Westbrook into usable pieces that actually complemented LeBron better. But, man, that's got to be the exception, not the rule. I mean, those got to be really difficult deals to consummate. I don't know. I mean, I just think that if to me, it's a lot about Klay's mentality and mindset about his twilight years. Is he like, hey, man, I've made $100 million and I don't care. I just want to be part of this thing. Okay, then we can reduce the number and sign him to a reasonable extension and this and that. But if he's like, hey, I need to be respected and this and that, then I think it's easier for him to accept a lesser contract and a lesser role in a different locker room.
I mean, that's really, I think, the piece that we need to talk about is whether or not we can emotionally wrap our head around it. Yeah, I mean, you're basically saying trade Klay Thompson right now. I don't even know if there's a deal out there for him. His deal is way too much money. Although it's interesting when you said no on 3 for $90, but you're talking about an extension beyond this year. And I know you'll laugh at me when I say this, but what if you did go to Klay Thompson and say, Klay, look, you are currently worth, and Bobby Marks said this on our station just a few weeks ago, his skill set and who he is right now is worth about $30 million a year in the NBA. But he's making 43. So what if you offered him a 2-year extension that equaled 90 on top of the 43 he's already making? So in other words, I'm going to offer you a 2-year, $47 million extension. So now you're going to
way too much. Way too much.
But it's $30 million a year, and it aligns the contract with Steph, and it aligns the contract with what I think Draymond's going to get. And rock and roll and see what you got out of these 3 players the rest of the way.
I mean,
I'm holding the word up, by the way. So get over to YouTube and Twitch. I'm holding the word up along with the text line. But go ahead.
I think the better deal would be some deal where you could move Klay for some, and Klay's got value this year as an expiring. So he gives the team the ability to move on. So like if you could find a younger player, a healthier younger player that made big money, if you could get a younger player who you thought fit better, I don't know. I just think that Klay, we got glimpses this year. I was sitting in for you or maybe Dibs earlier this year, and we had Kerr on. And I asked Kerr about the potential of Klay coming off the bench, and he just scoffed. And he scoffed because it wasn't that it was a ridiculous notion. It's just that he can't have that conversation with Klay. And that's why he's not entertaining it.
He can't?
No, I don't think so. I think it would bother Klay. I think it would really bother Klay.
Yeah,
I think it means a lot to Klay. Klay's got a big, even though Klay is such a great guy and such a great personality and was a key, his kind of like, I'm just going to play attitude was the key to their chemistry, I think, when he was coming up. I think if he's, I need my respect, I need my shots, I need my this, I need my that, I think that ego is a detriment on the back end of his career.
I hear you, and I feel what you're feeling too. I also think that's all of them. I really do. Like, we give Steph and Draymond this credit because it's like, oh, they came off the bench. Right. For tiny periods of time in circumstantial situations. They don't want to come off the bench. They want to be starters. Jordan Poole wants to be a starter. They all want to be starters. None of them want to come off the bench. So the idea that Klay doesn't like that, I think, is completely normal. I'll also say this, and it's probably way too late in this conversation to say this. Klay was still way better than all of you are remembering. I can't stand the way that we've done this in the NBA, where we just snapshot whatever we saw the last time we saw them, and we've decided that was their season.
I don't think he's playing bad.
He was really good this year.
He was. But Father Time is undefeated, and he's going to get worse, and the price tag is exorbitant. And also, he just seems like the personality type that's going to have a hard time dealing with the regression. I just find a guy that's out there chasing his own shot. He still doesn't make Draymond does things to make Steph Curry better. So Draymond, to me, is going to be here. Steph is Steph, so Steph's going to be here. Klay's a finisher, and I thought there were several games where he shot them out of it this year.
That's true.
And I didn't love the way he played in the playoffs. And I'd be open-minded to the alternatives. Plus, when Joe came out and said, hey, nobody outside of Steph, everybody's available, I kind of took that as Klay Thompson's gone.
And he didn't say that publicly, but Slater reported that in The Athletic. I get you.
Yeah.
I get it.
So, I mean, who's that in reference to? It's not in reference to Steph, and it's not in reference to Draymond. And so...
Well, why is it not in reference to Draymond?
Because I think Draymond makes Steph a better basketball player. I think Draymond is Steph's... He is Marty McSorley for Gretzky.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying I think everyone not named Steph means everyone not named Steph. I think the Warriors, everything's on the table.
Right.
Let's see what's there.
But I agree with J.J. Redick, who said that he doesn't think the Warriors win jack without Draymond.
I agree. I totally agree. I also think right now, as they're constituted right now, they don't win jack without Klay either.
Well, it
I
depends
know
what you turn Klay into.
I know he feels more replaceable because he's not as unique as Draymond.
Right.
I understand that. I don't know what deal is out there.
How do you get younger and turn this thing over if you're going to the finish line with all three of those guys? You know, I'm looking at the one thing about Klay Thompson is I think there's some value because he represents cap relief. If you're a player, if you're a team that has a player making $30 or $40 million that you're trying to get off of,
but I mean,
like what if Brooklyn came to you and said, "Hey, let's do a deal around Ben Simmons"?
Oh gosh, no.
Well, I mean, but Ben Simmons has got a lot more left in the tank.
Does he have anything in the tank, and has he ever?
I know, but I mean, I'm just saying,
that one's too much of a question mark for me.
Okay, but
I'm not turning Klay Thompson into Ben Simmons.
He's a younger player. What if Toronto said, we'll move on Siakam? What if you Karl Anthony Towns?
I'm interested in the Toronto Raptors. I'm very interested in the Toronto Raptors this offseason.